For the past decade, no watch brand has made a better dive watch, by my measure, than Tudor with the Pelagos. And now we have the first evolution of the Pelagos that makes it less of an insanely high-end dive watch and more of an everyday sports watch. It's the new Tudor Pelagos 39, and where this one is an amazing thing to take diving, this one you can just wear wherever you go. Since it first came out, the Tudor Pelagos has always been a top-tier dive watch. Great specs, titanium construction, absolutely modern. So when we first heard that there was a rumor that we might see a smaller Pelagos, it kind of went back and forth in everyone's mind, like, what would that be? Would it be identical but smaller? I mean, that's kind of the route they went with the Black Bay 58, was to simply take a 41 millimeter watch and make it a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, a little bit easier for day-to-day wear. And what we got was a 39 millimeter Pelagos, and that's so crucial that it's actually the name. This isn't the Pelagos 2, it's not the new Pelagos or the Pelagos 2022 or whatever, it's the Pelagos 39. Where I think the 39 excels is in how conventional it is. When the original Pelagos came out, it was this stop sign design, couldn't have been more legible, super matte. And I think that it was a natural progression to want a smaller Pelagos, and I think we've been asking for a smaller Pelagos for a long time. I do think that people originally thought it would just be that, a slightly smaller Pelagos. But here we have a brushed finish on the bezel that actually picks up color and reflects some light. The dial is mostly black, but it has this finish that does kick back a little bit of light in certain areas, so it feels a little bit more modern, but a little bit less stoic. Feels maybe a little bit less military, but I do really like it. And I think they lean just a little bit into the vintage side by using the red Pelagos text on the dial, which of course links back to Rolex Tudors of the past, and keeping the snowflake hand. They did remove some of those elements that people really attached to on the original model, specifically that ridiculously awesome clasp. The cutout rhea that kind of frames all the markers is now just a more conventional style on the new 39, and you don't get the helium escape valve. You no longer have 500 meters of water resistance, it's 200 here. I, of course, would say 200 is plenty. If you're at 200, the time isn't really gonna be your problem anymore. But that does belie some of the appeal of the Pelagos. Again, being this sort of top tier, best thing they could make sort of option, while still packaging it in something that was pretty wearable, thanks in part to the lighter weight of the titanium. So to better understand what we get in the Tudor Pelagos 39, we have to start with the original. And that's what we have here. It's actually the OG, back from 2012, two-liner. The later versions had like several more lines of text. It became kind of a little bit of a meme on its own, but this is an original two-liner, 42 millimeters wide, pretty thick. Incredible, incredible clasp. Like, this is maybe one of the coolest elements of the original watch's design, and I think this is where most people see this one. Sure, 200 meters, not that big a deal, but I think, myself included, everyone wanted this clasp on the 39, and the 39 has micro adjust, it has T-fit, it's really nice, we can take a look at it in a moment, but there's something so extra about this clasp, like so much more than you could possibly need, and you can see, like, it just self-adjusts. So if you're turning your wrist or you wanna close the bracelet over a small, like a light wetsuit or another layer, it just stretches out and you're done. And that's kind of how the whole tone of the watch is. Totally over-engineered, nothing quite like it on the market. And if I buy a watch like this, I wanna wear it like 350 days a year. And the truth is, I don't dive that many times a year. For me, the 39, I mean, it's just perfect. It falls right in place. I like that it's a smaller watch that's also titanium. We commonly see titanium used to help pad a larger watch's appeal on your wrist. With these, you get the benefits of the titanium and you get the size that I think just makes it a really good, almost boringly good everyday watch. It isn't the same as a traditional Pelagos. They've removed some things to get it to a point where it makes sense, both from, I assume, price, but definitely in terms of ergonomics. And I think it has enough specs to be a modern dive watch. It's 200 meters and a great bezel, you know, mostly solid lume. I like the bracelet. I think they've made some refinements to like the edge of the bezel if we want to get into like really tactile stuff. The action is still incredible. It still sounds just right. I've come to really appreciate the brush finish, but I think it's something you have to see in person. If you really love the super matte of the original, that's gonna be one of the things that's gonna maybe keep you from accepting this as a true Pelagos. And as much as I like the Pelagos 39, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's perfect. There are a couple things that are either weird or don't quite hit me that well. The first is the loom, which is kind of a pinnacle element for a dive watch. On both the original one that I checked out when the watch first came out and on this one, which I've had for a couple weeks now, the hands are not as bright as the markers or the bezel. And it feels like something that they'll probably rectify in the future. The other thing that has kind of tweaked some people is the lug sizing, which is 21 millimeters, not 20, not 22, it's 21. I have boxes of 20 millimeter NATOs and 22. I don't own one 21 millimeter NATO. As I mentioned, you get T-fit. So this is basically you have to take the watch off, but then you have the ability to kind of ratchet between 5 or 6 points of adjustment. So you basically get it close, and then as your wrist kind of swells or changes during the day, you can keep it kind of cinched up. And I don't have this on a bunch of my other watches, and I don't know how important it was. And then after a week with this, I probably change it 3 or 4 times a day just for comfort. I don't like it as much as the clasp on the original. You know, we can't always get everything we want. In this way, you are getting a lot of what makes the Pelagos cool and special and modern, but in a package that works a little bit better because it's 39 millimeters wide, hair under 12 millimeters thick, 47 millimeters lug to lug, and all that for about $4,400 on the bracelet, and it comes with a rubber strap. In an attempt to sum up a watch that I could talk at length about, and probably will, I really like the Pelagos 39 a lot. I like it more than the original because it's so much more wearable. It's the right tool for my lifestyle. And the nice thing is, it's not replacing the others. If you zoom out a little bit and know that we have the OGs, the blue, the black, the LHD, and now we have the 39, I think the 39 becomes almost self-evident. They had to go that direction. There's no reason to stop making the other ones, at least they don't seem to have any plans to do so. And in that zone, I think it's an incredible addition not only to the Pelagos world, but also to Tudor's lineup. And if it spurs on other brands to make approachably sized titanium sports watches, I'm all for it.